With what I'm going to show you today, the Griffin suddenly becomes one of the easiest bosses in the whole Doom Tower. What is going on, Raiders? Soda Dragon here, and today I have for you a duo that can beat the hardest Griffin. So Hard Doom Tower stage 90. Yes, this duo can beat it. And of course, since it works for the hardest Griffin, yes, it will work for all the easier levels as well. I did a video a few months ago on the Celestial Griffin and specifically how to beat him, but unfortunately this was before the update 4.3.0, which included the skill instructions and custom AI for your characters. Since then, it has made a big difference. Now, with those skill instructions, all you need are 2 characters to beat the hardest Griffin. And one of them, I guarantee you, is going to surprise you. So who are the 2 characters? There you go, Scyl the Drakes and Jareg. That is it. That is all you need. Now, of course, you're going to fill in the rest of the team to help get you through the waves, but trust me, especially when I show you the skill instructions, this is all you need. Okay, everyone else dies, these 2 live. All right, and we're talking Hard Doom Tower 90. All right, if you have these 2, you can beat every version of the Griffin easily, full auto. Full auto. All right, so this team is actually really amazing. So if you want a more detailed breakdown of the Griffin, his skills, and the strategies behind how to beat him, then I'm going to leave a link in the description below to my first video. But really, we don't need this anymore. Because if you have these characters, you put on the gear like I have, you get their stats in a similar level, and you put in those skill instructions, you literally do not have to know anything about the Griffin at all. It's full auto from the very beginning. You don't need to know squat. You're just gonna beat him over and over and over. So really, for our video right now, it's not necessary to talk about the Griffin and his skills. But like I said, if you guys are interested, I'll leave a link in the description below to my first video. Alright guys, we're going to start off with Jareg today. So what does Jareg bring to the table for us? So firstly, he has a really nice aura. So increases ally HP in all battles by 33%. So this is a legendary class aura. You're going to find the same thing in Roshkard, the same thing in Santa, exactly the same. Alright, so we're going to take advantage of it by putting him in that lead spot. He also has a really good passive as well, Sheltering Scale. So if anybody on the team takes a big hit, over 20% of the max health, then Jareg is going to automatically put a strong version continuous heal on them for 1 turn. Now we can potentially extend this with the mastery, which we'll talk about in a second, but this is awesome because it's just a passive. That means this cannot be turned off. I mean, unless you got Ramen to Drake's Blood, no boss can turn off passives at this point, so this one always works. On to his A2. So here, Pack Leader, we're actually going to turn this off with the skill instructions. So Hard Doom Tower floor 90, the Griffin hits really hard. And really, Jareg cannot survive taking damage for himself and other people as well. Think about it, if he's taking damage for 4 other people alongside himself, that is way too much. So we're actually going to turn this off. It is a good skill in general, but for really hard bosses that hit really hard and they use those AoE skills, this skill actually is not the best. Even though Jareg is so tough, he cannot take half the damage of the whole team just on himself. So we're going to turn this one off. On to his A1. So here we have a strong version decreased attack, which is awesome. This is really what we need. This is going to save you so much. It is going to make the run so much easier if you have somebody with attack down, and Jareg is perfect. So booked, it is only a 60% chance to land, but since he's only using his A1, remember we turned off his A2, then he's going to land this just fine. All right, so awesome to use a character with an A1 that does that attack down. So if you're going to use somebody else for this, definitely you need a character that can keep attack down with 100% uptime. That's really important. And the best case scenarios are people that can do that A1 attack down. Now, do you have to have attack down to beat this boss? No, you don't. If you have Rotos, no, you don't. But if you don't have Rotos, it helps a lot. It helps a lot, trust me. And I have Rotos, I have 2, all right? But trust me, if you don't have him, yes, bring someone with attack down. It makes everything so much easier. So what gear do I have him in? Look at this. Lifesteal and speed. Talk about accessible gear. I mean, if you're battling Harddoom Tower 90, then you should already have a really good stock of lifesteal gear, all right? So nothing crazy here. Lifesteal heals for 30% of damage dealt. Really nice in conjunction with a mastery called War Master, which we'll talk about in a second, and a speed set. I mean, come on, okay? Really easy to gear out your Jareg. On to his total stats. So here I have him at 76,000 health. I have the attack at 1300, not relevant because his damage is based on defense. I have his defense at 2400. The speed at 207. Crit rate 41% and crit damage 100%. Not a big deal because really Jareg is doing his damage off those War Master procs. Debuff resistance 216. So the accuracy for this boss, so Harddoom Tower 90, Griffin, is 250. His accuracy. So if you could get closer to 300 if possible, or above 300, then you can really start resisting when the boss throws back those debuffs that you throw at him. So every three turns, he throws back all those debuffs that you put on him back to the whole team. So 216, sometimes I resist that, but honestly it still works, as you'll see. But if you really want to resist getting those debuffs thrown back, then you're looking at 300 plus resistance. And here we're looking at debuff accuracy 308. So the resistance Harddoom Tower 90 Griffin is 330. That is his resistance. So really, to land debuffs, you're gonna want to try to match that in accuracy. So his resistance 330, so our accuracy needs to be around there. So you're gonna see, even with 308, I'm not at that 330 number, but very few times are you gonna see that resist pop up. Most of the time, it's just that percentage of landing, that 60% on that A1. All right, so whether he lands it or not. So 308 actually works pretty well. Onto his masteries, I'm just gonna highlight a few. So here we have Life Drinker, so heals by 5% of damage inflicted when attacking with 50% HP or less. The thing is, Jareg is not going to be ever under 50% HP. So with this particular run and our setup, you don't really have to worry about this. But this is in general a good mastery to have in conjunction with the characters that have War Master. So here, War Master, we do bonus damage based off enemy max HP, which is awesome. Because the more max HP an enemy has, the stronger they are, then that means the harder we can potentially hit. So definitely a great one, War Master. Put that on all your characters or all the characters that you can afford to really speed up your runs. Here, lasting gifts, we have the chance to extend our buffs. So which buff are we looking at extending in particular? We want that continuous heal to turn into a 2-turn continuous heal. So Jareg's passive, just by itself, by default, it gives you a 1-turn continuous heal whenever anyone takes a big hit. But with this lasting gifts, we potentially turn that to a 2-turn strong version continuous heal, which is great. So lasting gifts is really good for your Jareg, in particular for his passive. And here we have Master Hexer, which is like the opposite of lasting gifts. We are looking at potentially extending debuffs. So what do we want to extend that? Attack down. We have the strong version, decreased attack on Jareg's A1. Remember, booked is only a 60% chance to land. So when it does land, we want to potentially extend it just in case. So definitely pick up Master Hexer for your Jareg. Now, if he had a 100% chance to land a 2-turn attack down, that's a different story, but he doesn't, all right? So definitely Master Hexer is a great choice for Jareg. All right, guys, moving on to Scyl of the Drakes. So what does she bring to the table? Well, firstly, she has a really great passive here, Boundless Life. At the start of her turn, every turn, she is going to heal everybody on the team for 10% of their max health. Plus, she is going to put up a strong version, increased speed buff on a random person. So this is really important for keeping the whole team alive. So her A3 here, Phoenix Right, her revival skill is actually one that we are going to turn off. We don't need it. Nobody's going to die that we need to stay alive. So who do we need to stay alive? We need Scyl and Jareg. That's it. We're going to turn this off. Now, the bad thing about this revival skill in general is that she puts up a continuous heal on the person that she revives. So against, people that don't hit that hard, enemy waves, maybe it's not that bad, but against really hard-hitting enemies, all of a sudden Scyl is taking on a ton of damage, okay? Taking on 50% of the damage of that other person. So really, this can end up killing her a lot of the times, even with her passive healing. Even if you put a regeneration set or whatever on her, still she ends up taking a ton of damage. So we're just going to turn this off. We don't need it. Anybody that dies along the way, good riddance, because all we need is Scyl and Jareg. Onto our A2, Wing Beat Flurry. So this is really nice. It is an AoE double hitter, and every hit when booked has a 35% chance to stun. So really nice for that crowd control for the waves before you get to the Griffin. Onto our A1. So here we have a really good A1 single target, but it does have that decreased speed debuff, the strong version, and there's also a chance to decrease that turn meter. Now neither are 100%, but honestly this is really good for an A1. Now we are not really relying on this for the Griffin. Okay, so we don't really need that much accuracy. We need enough for the waves to potentially stun them for crowd control, but we're not really looking at putting a decreased speed debuff on the boss or decreasing the boss's turn meter. Now sometimes it will happen and the boss is going to counterattack with a potential stun, but we're not really relying on it. This comp does not need Scyl to have accuracy. On to Scyl's gear. So here I have her in a Relentless set and an Immortal set. So that Relentless set, 18% chance to get an extra turn. Immortal plus 15% HP and heals by 3% every turn. So when that Relentless procs, along with her passive, she's healing everybody on the turn for 10% of their max health. So 2-3 turns proc in a row, which they can, all of a sudden your whole team has 30% of their max health back. So really good, but not required. Remember, Jareg was just in a lifesteal set. If you don't have Relentless gear, put her in lifesteal. You can put her in all immortal. You can put her in a regeneration set. There are so many options for Scyl of the Drakes, all right? But I would definitely recommend some sort of set that can return some health back to Scyl. Yes, she does have that passive healing, but hey, when we're talking Hard Doom Tower 90, really you want to get all the healing that you can get. So yeah, if you don't have a good Relentless set, lifesteal would be just fine. On to her total stats. So here I have her at 76,000 health. The attack is not relevant because her damage is based on defense. So here we have her 2,900 defense, speed 204, crit rate 29%, and crit damage 143%. Not great numbers, but we are doing damage based off those War Master procs just like Jareg, so no big deal. We have the debuff resistance at 237. So Hard Doom Tower 90, the Griffin has an accuracy of 250. So in order to resist debuffs, you need to have significantly more resistance than their accuracy. It's not true the reverse. So no, we are not matching or beating that accuracy of the Griffin, but 237, we're still going to resist sometimes. Our comp really doesn't rely on having to resist the debuffs all the time that the Griffin throws back. So not a big deal. And debuff accuracy 145, low, but no big deal as well. We're not looking at a high resist or a high accuracy Scyl. All we need her for is her heal, and her War Master procs offer A1. That's it. On to her masteries, I'll just highlight a few. So here we see that Life Drinker War Master combo. So Scyl as well as Jareg, they will not get under 50% health. So not required Life Drinker here for this boss, but in general a good mastery to have in conjunction with War Master. But definitely just like Jareg, we have that War Master, so we're getting that bonus damage based off enemy max HP. So the more they got, the more potential damage we can do. So down the support tree, we see coming down the left side is for that increased healing. So if you have characters that heal especially off their passives like Scyl or Doom Priest, etc., then really you can go down the left side of the support tree to get increased healing. Now the right side here, you're going to get more increased accuracy if you want to land debuffs. But this one in particular, Spirit Haste, is good for her. Now the thing is, if we're only bringing in a few people into the run, that is going to count as a dead ally. So let's say we only bring in Jareg and Scyl. Then that counts as 3 dead allies. That means Scyl is going to get a she's going to get a speed boost. So +8 for each dead ally, even ones you don't bring in. So that's going to be 24. And even if you start the run with allies and they die, then Scyl gets a speed boost. So really good for this particular run, but also in general good for Scyl, because if someone does die, then she does get that speed boost. Then hopefully she can jump in, cut in line, revive somebody, stun people, whatever. So in general, a good mastery for her, but in particular for this run, because we don't care if people die off. Once again, we're turning off her revive. So when people die, when it's their time, they're just going to die, and she is going to get a benefit from it, that speed boost. All right, guys, on to the run. So before we get to the skill instructions, the question is, who else do you bring? And really, you can bring in anybody that will help you get through the waves. All right, so I'm just going to bring in one more character, And you're going to see him die once we get to the boss, but really it's going to be Drexthar, and he's going to help to get through the waves. Drexthar is not required at all. At all. You guys hear me, right? At all. I know some of you guys are going to say, well, they don't have Drexthar. You don't need him. Anybody to help you get through the waves. These two are all you need. And yes, you can do it with these two. It's just going to take a long time, all right? But just for proof of concept, all I'm going to add in is a character that can help this team get through the waves a little bit faster, and that's going to be Drex. And yeah, Drex does some damage on the boss as well, but you're going to see him eventually die off, and because we're turning off Scyl's revive, he's not going to be revived. He is not necessary to beat this boss, all right? So once again, fill in the rest of the team with anybody that can help you get through those waves quickly. But we're turning off Scyl's revive, so they don't matter once we reach the boss. Onto the skill instructions. So make sure for Jareg you turn off Pack Leader. All you want him to do is his A1 with that strong version attack down. That's it, okay? Now his passive is just there, it just works. But definitely turn off Pack Leader. We do not want any ally protection. And for Scyl of the Drakes, turn off Phoenix Right. No revives. You don't need it, okay? You don't need any revives with this comp, all right? In fact, she gets a speed boost when people are dead. All the better, all right? So once again, we're looking at turning off Phoenix Right. For Scyl and for Jareg, make sure to turn off Pack Leader. There you go, Scyl and Jareg unstoppable against this boss. Alright guys, that is it for today. I hope this video has been helpful and hopefully something new that you haven't seen before. If you guys haven't yet, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.